Okay, you guys could bear with me for 1 second. We're doing some streaming today. Hopefully you guys have been enjoying the streams from Green Fry's review page. We're putting together a great team of some phenomenal, wonderful, stupendupulistist. I'm not even sure that's a word. Some fantastic people, y'all. Good people. Good people. A lot of love. People talking about the truth. People talking about how we're going to fix this little bit of a quagmire we got the planet in. So just give me a minute. I want to get this posted out on Green Fry's page. And nothing is ever as easy as it seems. Technology is something. Let me see. I don't see it in my list. Hopefully, let me see if I can do it another way. I think if I did this, and nothing is ever as easy as it seems. Technology is something. Let me see. Technology is a wonderful thing. Okay, so I think I got it. Now, I want to talk about the future, y'all. I want to get back to the future. I'm hanging out with my man. I don't know if y'all recognize this brother next to me. This is Jock Fresco. Let me see. I think, make sure we're ready to go. Yep, looks like it just posted on the Green Fry review page. If you guys aren't following the Green Fry review, I certainly encourage it. Absolutely, positively, I concur with the message these good people have to say. So let me pull up my comments so I can see what you guys are talking about. I'm going to be on here pretty short. It's not going to be long. I think I got about 45 minutes till Brother Tatsu comes on. I'm not going to be on to his time. So I want to kind of sum up a lot of the stuff that we've learned this year. A lot of stuff I've learned this year in terms of solution. Where are we going with this? Where can we go with this, right? We're in a place where we live in this artificial scarcity time. And so I'm going to try to sum this up. I might move kind of quick. I had some footage I'd like to show you guys if I can get around time to it. But I want to try to sum a few things up. If you've been following me, then you kind of understand possibly the way my mind is thinking. But some things that we've solved this year in our family here online. We talked about the wolf, right? We talked about why are people so violent? Why are we in times where such psychopathic thoughts are a regular, basis? How can we get to a place where someone can take a car in Charlottesville and drive it over a little girl? How do we have a place where we have police that are interacting with 14 and 13-year-old kids very roughly? How do we get in a place where we got those 14 and 13-year-old kids acting with the police roughly? How do we get into a place where we have leadership that on a regular basis find it okay to allow famines in Yemen and bomb children all over the world? We've lost our ever-loving minds, you guys. But I will say that there's a lot of hope. And that hope does not come from me. I'm just speaking. But I've been able to run into some very intelligent people with some really great solutions. And so we were talking about the wolf. And every dog is a wolf. I'm not sure if you're aware of this, but every dog is still a wolf. Every dog can breed with wolves. Why is that? Why is it that these dog things, when we go home, they're just happy to see us? They wag their tail and they walk up to us. Well, one day, some dogs decided wolves decided, we don't want to do this no more. We're done with the violence. All of our leadership is violent. We're constantly fighting among packs. We're ripping each other to shreds. We're, living out in the cold. We don't want to do this wild thing anymore. And so the nicest wolves snuggled up to the human beings. First, they'd come a little closer to the campfire, and after a while, we were throwing food to them, and they became friends. They became actual compadres. We fed them. We made sure they were warm. We gave them a place to live. And enough time had passed, enough generations, and this thing called epigenetics finally flipped the switch off in the wolf. and the wolf became something called a dog, which is man's best friend. We cured scarcity in wolves, and that allowed wolves to become dogs, which is man's best friend. We effectively took away the reason for wolves to rip each other to shreds and fight between packs and have to chase down and kill for its food. And we gave them things like Purina. See, some of y'all give them sweaters and, and scarves. I don't even know what dogs look like anymore half the time because they're walking around in cashmere. Dogs dressed nicer than I am. But so we solved that, right? And so now dogs, we took the wild out of wolves and we got dogs by giving them abundance. We took care of what they needed to eat, where they lived, and we took away their reasons to be violent. Many neuroscientists and behavioral scientists have made that case for years now, decades now, that we can solve scarcity in mankind. Here's another example we ran into this year. We ran into bonobos and chimps. So you have bonobos and chimps who pretty much have almost the same precise DNA. In fact, in recent history, they had the same DNA. Bonobos, however, were separated by a river. I believe it was the Congo River, correct me if I'm wrong, where they had an abundant side, where they could live in the trees and they could walk amongst the land, and there was lots of food and safety, places to live. The chimps ended up on the other side largely, where there were gorillas. There was violence on the ground. There wasn't as much food because they had to compete with the gorillas for the food on the ground, and then they had to compete with each other and live in the trees. Chimps evolved to be violent. They fight. In fact, you can't even buy a chimp. I don't think you can have them as pet in most states because they still got their wild. Nothing solved their violence like human beings. Nothing solved their scarcity. In fact, their scarcity was made worse because now they got to compete with the gorilla. And if you've seen a silverback, you know why. But the bonobos on the other side, their wild was solved, right? They no longer had a reason to fight for food. So what happened to the bonobo over time is the same thing that happened to the wolf that snuggled up next to human beings. It became domesticated. In fact, there is no known record in the history of studying bonobos that one bonobo has harmed another. Violence has been solved in them. Weird things happen. The females actually took over. The bonobos actually have a very maternalistic society. The females tend to pack together, and the males are much more respectful. There is no, I believe it's called chimpicide, where the males kill the young because the females don't allow it, and the males have no reason to. There is no competition for such things. In bonobos, there's things like rape and abuse and constantly beating up the females in the pack. In the bonobos, that doesn't happen. You see the picture I'm painting? Hopefully you do. And so these are things that we walk through. I don't want to spend a lot of time in that. I'm trying to get somewhere with it. But you know, we can solve this in human beings. And these were two great cases where we solved scarcity. When we made sure there was no reason for a species to be wild, it stopped being wild. And so the case the professionals have always made to us have always been true. We can solve scarcity in mankind. We never could until today, which, not from a technological perspective, we could do this technologically a very long time ago. A very long time ago, we had the automation and the ability and the factories to actually automate the production of homes, the production of food, water, the things that human beings need so they don't fight, right? The things so they can grow up, not in a trailer park or a ghetto with not enough food and not enough of the things, and build that anger up to a point where they'll be listening one day when someone walks and whispers in their ear, that group of people is why you're so poor. We gotta get those people. Whispering the chimp things in their ears, acting up like wolves. And I submit to you, we don't have to be wolves anymore. We don't have to be chimps anymore. We can be the bonobos. Human beings can become what they want. And this is why I'm sitting here with this brother right here. If you don't know Jacques Fresco, you need to introduce yourself to the Phoenix Project. If you don't know Peter Joseph, you need to introduce yourself to the Zeitgeist Movement. All online, you can see all their lectures. Delicious, professional, well thought out discussions. And I'm not saying that the Venus Project is a perfect project. And I'm not saying the Zeitgeist Movement is a perfect movement, because there is no such thing as perfection. There is no such thing as as a utopia, right? What we do is we over time determine that this is a bad way to live, that is a better way to live. And human beings move forward. And so I submit to you that we have the ability to produce these things. Many of us have already seen them. I'm not sure that I'll have time to show you. I'll have to post them out, but you've seen the automated homes. A lot of you have sent me them. So you have homes that can be made from concrete, where they roll out fabrics that already have concrete strewn in them. They blow them up like a balloon and spray water on them, and you have an instant home. Happens within one day. We have the automated homes now being made in Finland, in Japan, and some in America, where you can make a home. I believe the one in Japan, you can make 6 houses a day. These things can be made in factories. They can be rolled out. You know what? Maybe I have to show you one. Maybe I can do that. Y'all can give me a chance to hear. I just want to show you one because there was a phenomenal one that someone sent to me. And so what we're talking about, mostly the ones I find the most interesting are 3D printed houses. So you can 3D print a house right from a robot. Why wouldn't we do that? Why would we not solve that scarcity for mankind? You know, right now in LA, they just beat down, I believe it was LA or San Francisco, they just beat down a initiative to get robots to chase homeless people off the streets. My God, people. At what point do we go back to being people? At what point do we go back to rebuilding what we know the future can be? And so let me show you this. And I don't remember who sent it to me, but I certainly appreciate when you guys send me stuff. This is some 3D printing of the homes, but that's not what I want to show you. I tried to be ready. Okay, so it's an automated home where it breaks down and it actually, I don't have it ready. Hold on, give me 2 seconds and I'm gonna see if I can show it to you. I was queued up and I thought I was queued up. I wasn't queued up. And yep, I see you guys are already posting the links. Thank you. I certainly appreciate it. The people who are very familiar with what I'm talking about, some of the smartest people that I know have already posted some of the links to the Zeitgeist movement. Okay, so here we go right here. This is what I want to show you. Take a peek at this. Look at this. We don't actually, I'm not going to play the whole video. I don't want to hear. But see, these are automated homes that can be made in factories, you guys. We can roll them out by the thousands, and then by the tens of thousands, and then by the 100,000s, and then by the millions. Why in the world, if you were born a human being, why should you not have the ability to have a home? Why can't we gift that to the next generation? We know that we can. We just choose not to. And these are very sexy homes. The 3D printed homes, some of them look nice, some of them a little rough. You know, I know how you guys look at the cob houses and the concrete houses. But the point is, if we can do this, we have the technology to do it in mass to a point where it's almost free. I don't want to spend too much time. I know I'm going kind of fast, but I got to go fast. I want to make sure I get this out in enough time. And I appreciate anybody sharing them. I think that the message that Jacques Fresco and Joseph Peters has is extremely important, especially now when we talk about a future, right? We all know how sick the world is. We all know that things don't seem right. We all know that every country's got its problems. And I submit to you, perhaps the problem is we're bonobos. We're not bonobos. Or actually, the problem is we're chimps. But we stopped on our path to become bonobos. And I submit maybe we should go back to going back down the path. And so let me do this for you. You get to a point and say, well, who's going to pay for it? How are we going to do it? And of course, that's the question a lot of people always like to ask. They always like to ask, who's going to pay for something? Right? We don't have the ability to do that. We're a broke nation. Well, what I like to think about, in recent history. Have we ever gotten to a place in recent history where we had a need to make machines, to go do something to save people's lives, to feed people and help them? Nah, I'm making all that up. This was not to feed people. It might have been to help them. You're going to talk about World War I and World War II. But during World War I and World War II, do you know that we converted all the auto-making facilities over to making tanks and airplanes, guns and ammunition? And if we can do that to save Europe, Could we do that to save a planet? Could we do that to feed people? Could we do that because we love people in trailer parks and in ghettos equally? Could we do that because we don't want the largest famine seen in the last century in Yemen to continue? Could we do that because we don't want to fight anymore? We're done with all of this black, white, Christian, Muslim, left, right, conservative, liberal. Can we do this because we're done with being ignorant? Could we do this because the future of humanity is more important than our current ego and our ignorance going to the Venditarian to brag that our party won again? Do we really understand that we can convert the factories in America over at any time we choose? We can convert the factories over all around the world anytime we choose. We have some very, very, very simple decisions that we need to make, people. And this is why we talk about, my friends and I, we talk about none of this is politics. None of it. There is no political discussion coming out of the mouth of any intellectual anywhere in this world. Everything we're talking about is survival. Survival of the human race. We know already the jobs are not coming back. There are no jobs to come back. They've been automated out, and they're going to continue to be automated out. And I know you like to say, well, that's not my job. My job's not going to be automated out. Your job is going to be automated out. First of all, the labor jobs, it's already easy. They stopped doing the labor jobs because all the easy ones they mostly got. They're now focused on blue collar. You're not going to be replaced by hardware. You will be replaced by software. And so we need to make some decisions, because coming up, you're raising your babies up. You're telling, oh, go to school, get your straight A's in math, English, science. You're going to have a great job. You're lying to the child. The child will not have that job. In 10 years from now, perhaps 15, the job landscape across the world will completely look different. Robots and software will be taking the jobs of human beings. This is the urgent crisis that we need to talk about. This is the earth and human crisis that we need to have a discussion about. Because if we don't dig into that love, thank you, Sister Lynn. If we don't dig in, and I don't mean to be preaching. I'm not preaching. Can I get an amen? I'm from a tank preaching. No, I'm not preaching. What I'm trying to say is that we don't have a whole lot of time. We don't have a whole lot of time. We have across the world turned the future of humanity over to corporations and greed. And this is not a great evil, you guys. I'm not saying corporations are evil. I'm not even saying the oligarchs are evil. I'm not even saying the 1% of the 1% is evil. What I'm saying is this path ends in one place, right? If we keep going the direction of evolving human beings to be more and more chimpish, to be more and more violent, we don't end anywhere good. We're going to land in a place where we do not want our kids to be, assuming that they make it. I submit to you that nobody's in control of this. I submit to you that nobody is driving this car. I submit to you that there is no great cabal that actually have control of the earth. I submit that things work on the micro level the way they do on the macro level. I think that no corporation is in control. I think you have groups of industries all fighting and vying for power and control of different nations and different minerals and resources all across this world. I submit that most of the wars occur simply because they want to collect as much of the resources they can. That greed is driving this, that competition is driving this, and that there is no one at the wheel. And that this all ends in a very bad place. We don't want our children to be. So what I want to ask you today is I want you to think about the future. I want you to think about, who do we want to be? Do we really want to continue to have very immature, ignorant, call out culture, blasting people, crap posting, whatever you want to call it? Do we want to continue to be a world of adults with the behavior of ignorant children? Or do we want to trust our professionals and that knowing, taking care of everybody's problem, not one group's problem? And this is why, if you ever ask me, I really don't care what's happening in one particular group. People want to give me statistics. Well, there's so many of this group and this group and that group and this religion. I don't care anything about that, you guys. If one baby is starving, if one child does not have what they need, if one child doesn't have health care, if one child in a trailer park doesn't have food and water, that child is a potential warrior gene invoked psychopath. because we know where our psychopaths come from. We know what causes people to climb up on clock towers and shoot people. We know what causes people to go postal. And then people ask the question. We got dealt with this year too. Well, what are we going to do about jobs? What are people going to do for jobs? A man, they hit you with the scripture. If a man doesn't work, a man doesn't eat. I say, well, yeah, but the scripture didn't say a man has to work for corporations to buy the wealthy men yacht after yacht after yacht after yacht. He doesn't eat. It says if a man doesn't work, he doesn't eat. I submit to you that your greatest work is what the bonobos figured out. Your greatest work is raising children. Your greatest work is loving your children, because we can't get that right. I personally believe that that's the greatest job on the planet. And if you haven't gotten raising your children right, you haven't figured out how to spend time with them and how to just tap into whatever they are and not give them indoctrination, but let them indoctrinate you to who they are. I submit if you haven't figured out how to do that, you have no place at a work. You have no place at a job. Your job is to be at home raising extremely smart, creative, beautiful children who have minds that can take us places like the Nikola Teslas and the Einsteins. That's what we need. We need more of them. We don't need to blow them up. We don't need to send drones to them. We don't need to starve them out. We need to give them houses. We need to give them cars. We need to make sure that their parents have everything they need. Why? Because robots pay for it. Because their future can pay for it. So who pays for it? It's called automation. It's very old technology. All of this can be done any day, night, anytime we choose. If we can put together a massive manufacturing industry from an auto industry to invade Europe and make hundreds of thousands of tanks, airplanes, ships to kill and murder people, if Hitler could do it, are you trying to say that we can't do it? How dumb do you think I am? How stupid do you think the people are you're talking to? People, we own this world. We run this world. We are the only reason that government even exists. And they're not listening to you. And if you don't know that they're not listening to your party now, and if you're pushing for the next politician, you are a part of the problem. I love you to death. But that's not our future, you guys. They stopped our evolution. And our children are going to pay the maximum price if we don't get the human race back on evolution to becoming what we're supposed to be. We've been paused in resource land for how many hundreds of years now? We've completely stopped evolution so we can work for corporations. They tricked us into this whole idea of work is getting a job and going out trying to collect as many resources as you can and from other people, from your neighbors. They've convinced us that it's perfectly okay to have forced labor environments all over the Middle East, all over Africa, all over South America, so we can live very, very wealthy in the West. They've convinced us that this society is not inherently sick because we support sick groups and the sick people within. So what I ask you today, people, I ask you today to really think about, where do we want the future to go? Do we want to go back to building a future? Or do we want to continue to crash whatever it is that these massive corporations and these oligarchs and this government that's completely out of control is taking us? That's the question I submit to you guys. I submit to you that we don't have any political problems. We don't have any problem that hasn't already been solved. We are just too ignorant to listen to the professionals as they tell us that we don't have to have a decimated future, that we have all the technology to take care of everybody, and we have everything to make it happen. We just don't have the love. We don't have the concern, and we don't have the ability to not be scared to stand up and speak. And so what I'm going to ask you, and I'm going to shut it down because I want Brother Tatsu to come on. I want you guys to pay attention to Brother Tatsu, who's coming up next. But I want you to ask yourself, do you really want your children to live the life you lived? That's the question you need to ask yourself. Do you really want to continue to pause evolution of our society, the human being, our governmental structures across the world? and have them compete with other children, locking other children down in slavery in other nations, because we weren't smart enough to listen to the professional people that we've put forward to study these things, to tell us what we should be behind. A little bit of a deep message, you guys, but to me, this is where our hope comes from. Our hope comes from each other. Our hope comes from not dividing. Our hope comes from laying down all of these subhuman groups and human beings coming together to actually solve problems with the planet Earth and the human race. Because people, we like to talk about save the earth, and everybody wants to say, oh, we got to save Mother Earth. We got to save Mother Earth. I'm going to submit to you that Mother Earth don't need you. And it damn sure doesn't need you to save it. Mother Earth will reboot once we blow ourselves off the face of the planet. Human beings may not be coming back. We need to work on saving ourselves, and we do that by saving our environment, and we do that by saving each other. That's my message for today, you guys. I love y'all to death. There's a lot of hope out there. There's a lot of smart people who are really waking up. I'm going to ask you to latch on to them. I'm going to ask you to share. I'm going to ask you to get involved and start talking about the human race and stop talking about your subgroups, because we got to grow up someday. And I think January 1 is a great day to finally grow up. What do you think? Listen, this is Gerard. I love you to death. You guys, please follow the Green Fry Review. Y'all have a wonderful day, and I'll see you over at Brother Tatsu's Talk.